laborer to help keep America fed. CDLA driving professionals. Join Oakley Transport today. Keep America fed. Visit oakleytransport.com or call them today at 1-877-8-TANKER. That's 1-877-8-TANKER.
Your home for news, talk, and information. 1040 WHBO Canales Park, Tampa Bay's all new News Talk 1040.
It's the only way I get news.
From the heart of Central Florida, you're listening to the most electrifying show in media, A Neighbor's Choice. And I'm your host, your neighbor, David Gornoski. Welcome back to the program where we are challenging toxic groupthink like nobody else does in the business, because we are guided by principles, not tribalism, not tit-for-tat blame games. We've got plenty of that. Who needs more of that? If you want to hear blame games, if you want to hear tribalism, there's about 10,000 programs right now playing right now all across this country that'll give you exactly what you want to hear. But if you want to hear something that treats you like an adult, like you are, that treats you as a dignified, sovereign individual, then you've come to the right place. Because that's what A Neighbor's Choice is all about. It's about the idea that everything we do needs to respect free will, free agency, and that you cannot play God with your neighbor. You cannot force them to submit to your will on issues of conscience, on issues of preference and hypotheses. You know, the hypothesis that they have been using for the pandemic is that if you have this virus, you could have no symptoms and you could spread it. That was a hypothesis. It has been invalidated. It wasn't even a hypothesis. It was a hunch. There's no basis in it. And then we see the 10 million study out of Wuhan. We see the study out of University of Florida and other different things showing 0 cases of asymptomatic spread, which means the very basis of trying to create universal mask wearing when you're perfectly fine is something that is not based in reality, but is based in hysteria. It's based in the madness of crowds. And if there's one thing you'll learn about politics on this program, it is that politics is the madness of crowds. It is not something that can function well in light of something which is destroying politics, which is eating it away, eating and destroying the foundations of politics itself. And that is the personhood revolution of Jesus, in which the first shall be last and the last shall be first, in which God desires mercy, not sacrifice, in which we are to resist not evil with violence. These, in terms of trying to revivify the political apparatuses that we are compliant with a vision that Jesus has started in history. Jesus had a plan. Jesus had a project of history. And whether you are Christian or not, you are inside of his plan. You're inside of his project. And it is unfolding exactly as he prescribed it would do. He described it to be. It is unfolding exactly as he said it would. He said that it would divide mother from daughter, father from brother. And what do we see today? We see that we can't even stand for national emblems like a flag. We can't even agree on what a father and a mother is. We can't even agree on what gender is. We can't agree on what race is. We can't agree on all this stuff. We're divided by every little microcosmic little thing you can come up with. We're divided by every little spat in history. Every little act of oppression is haunting us because we are thoroughly in the shadow of the cross and we do not understand what that means. We do not understand exactly what it means yet, but we should and we can. And I will try to help you see it as I try to understand it myself. That's what A Neighbor's Choice is about. That's what we're here for. You're tired of hearing the same old squawk box. That's why you're listening to this program right now, because you know that if you flip to the other place or the other place, you're going to hear the same droning on about the same old nothing. It is time to have a conversation that reaches through the microphone, reaches through the speaker in your car, and brings out the truth in a way that unsettles you from the comfort of going along with the crowd. The crowd has always been a lie. The crowd will be a lie. It will always be a lie. And we have to understand how to think for ourselves. We have to know how to resist the temptation to keep our heads down, to go along with a bystander effect as people's freedoms are destroyed left and right, as people's health is butchered by ignorance with politics, weaponizing it with great tragedy as a result. So what is in store in this year? What happens next? Who will be your president? You'll find out soon. But does it really matter? Does it really matter at the end of the day? This is politics. This is a dying order. We have to get away from politics. We need to understand that we cling to our addiction to government and big business to save us. We cling to that at our own peril. The sooner we wake up to the fact that these are false idols that cannot be fixed, they cannot be reformed, we have to move closer to home. We have to move back to the human person, back to the family, back to the principles which were inaugurated 2,000 years with the personhood revolution. There was a time in history in which when you walked down the side of the road, you could see babies abandoned, screaming and crying out, and it was considered normal. Now we couldn't even have that kind of reality, although we do that kind of violence in hiding places. We do it inside of an abortion clinic. We sacrifice kids for convenience. We sacrifice our soldiers for lying wars. We sacrifice our freedoms for pseudoscience. We sacrifice our ability to achieve solutions in medicine because we simply cannot see that the idol of politics is a lie. It is a deception, and that politics itself must be moved away from. We have to repent of politics itself. We have to move towards loving our neighbor with skin in the game, with responsibility for the things that we want to be done. We cannot do this whole passing the buck off to politicians. You fix the healthcare. You fix the environment. You fix poverty. You fix suffering. You fix disease. They can't do it. They're human mortals just like you. And it's only politics that lets you think anything else, anything to the contrary, that somehow these are gods because they win supposed popularity contests with dubious machines and all this stuff. And we're supposed to be all content with this. We're supposed to believe this is the only way we can solve problems amongst ourselves. That is the deception of the groupthink that inculcates our addiction to politics. It is something we have to move away from, my friend. You know it to be true. You know, no matter who you elect, that we're going to continue to slide into the same destruction of our culture, destruction of our family, destruction of our health, destruction of our environment, destruction of our ability to earn a living, to have a business, to innovate, to be creative. We're going to lose all of that the more we cling tightly to the belief that if we vote and get excited about politics, that we will find solutions and salvation in this place. That doesn't mean that good things cannot happen in the world of politics. Of course, good things happen all the time in every situation. But that the idea that we can rest our decision-making capability in the hands of a monopoly like a centralized DC city that has the plans of the policies and procedures for 330 million people, and that they can map out our lives, that they can plan out our health, that they can plan out how to save the planet. This is a religious fantasy. It is a fiction, and it is hurting us all the longer we say, well, we'll tinker with this and make it work for us. It won't work for anybody. It won't work for your progressive ideas. It won't work for your traditional ideas. It won't work. All it will work to do is tear us apart, because you cannot revivify that which Jesus broke. And what he destroyed on the cross was the idea that kings and principalities are God and that we are to worship them. That was destroyed once and forever. that was crippled and dismantled in a very fatal way. And ever since then, slowly but surely, the story of Jesus' death on the cross continues to undermine the legitimacy of would-be gods that use their little fiefdoms and their kingdoms to try to map out your life. And every time we keep trying, we tried monarchy, let's try republic, let's try democracy, let's try socialism, let's try communism, let's try fascism, let's try dictatorship, all these types of ideologies. And at the end of the day, they cannot put Humpty Dumpty back together again, as I've said before. You cannot bring back that which was irrevocably broken and destroyed by Jesus on the cross, which was the foundational lie that is the principalities of this world. They are not God. They cannot save you, and you do not have to worship them. And the sooner we wake up to this fact, the better off we will all be. You're listening to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski. Back in just a moment. Who is your neighbor? Dave and Wally are team drivers for Oakley Transport. One day, they came across a very serious accident on the highway. Some might pass on by, but Dave and Wally saw there was no time to waste. They jumped into action and saved 2 people's lives with moments to spare. That's the kind of courageous love we need more of today. It reflects the respected culture Oakley Transport develops with their driving professionals. CDLA licensed drivers. Join Oakley Transport today for a rewarding career. Visit oakleytransport.com. That's oakleytransport.com. Hello, this is David Gornoski with A Neighbor's Choice. I've got a mission for you. I'm a big believer in eating family farm-raised, high-quality grass-fed beef. That's why I'm a frequent customer of White Oak Pasture, a 6th-generation beautiful farm in southwest Georgia. Support sustainable, delicious meat of the highest quality. Ask for White Oak Pasture's beef at your local grocery here in Florida, or go to whiteoakpastures.com, and first-time customers get 20% off on purchases with our exclusive coupon code NEIGHBOR. Are you ready to transform your career? Jess Smith was too. She was stuck in a job that was controlling her life, consuming her free time, and offering little opportunity for growing her pay. Then she found FinTech Mortgage Association, and she never looked back. FinTech Mortgage Association makes home lending simple, and they take care of home buyers like family. Using technology to make everyone's life easier, FinTech Mortgage Association equips each of their loan solutions architects with the tools they need to build a career with a schedule they control, a product they can take pride in, and an earning potential that is life-changing. Unleash your true potential. Join FinTech Mortgage Association. Visit finmay.com. That's FINMAE.com. You're in charge now. NMLS ID 1492187. Equal housing lender.
Here's one thing you can scratch off your to-do list without going anywhere, without any out-of-pocket cost to you, and even get up to $150 cash back. Get that crack in your windshield fixed by calling Auto Glass America. They'll come to you, and with comprehensive insurance coverage, there's no cost to you. Call Auto Glass America now and fix that pane in the glass with premium glass and a lifetime warranty. Call 813-96-GLASS, 813-96-GLASS. Auto Glass America.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. So we're looking at what's next, what's going to happen next, right? And we have many different layers to that. What happens next in our society, what happens next, and who's going to be the president of the political machine. All these different things are on our minds as we head towards a new chapter, a new year. 2021 has begun, and we're back, raring to go. And, what you've come to expect on A Neighbor's Choice is that we're not going to shrink away to a weaker, lower resolution frame of analysis in which we're just going to talk about this team good, this team bad. They don't have time for that. We have to deal with things like adults. I mean, I'll give you an example. I got a listener emailed me. It says, took mom in to be tested for COVID at her small clinic. It came back positive. She was having trouble breathing and said she thought it was just bronchitis. 2 days later, my sister calls and says, mom's in emergency, can't breathe. 4 hours later, they released her and said it was acute bronchitis, no COVID. Sent her home with meds. What the blank is going on, David? Her little clinic says COVID. The big hospital says no COVID. So, people are reporting this kind of stuff, and it's so confusing. We had another listener say that someone at a major hospital, working at a major hospital, says everybody's getting, labeled as COVID. And I don't know what is going on. But I'm reporting what people are telling me. You look at this comment here on Twitter from Sandy Bianco. It says, so quick question. Why the blank is my father's name and the paper? And why is his name in the paper for dying of COVID? I'm so angry right now. I want answers. For the record, my father died of complications due to pancreatic cancer, not COVID-19. And this is someone who's reporting on a newspaper that shows her father listed as dying of COVID. The news-making apparatus is falling apart. Okay, it cannot keep a lie going so consistently. And what is that lie? I don't know what it is. I guess they make too much money labeling everybody who dies in the hospital as a COVID death. I don't know what the government gives them money if they have a COVID person versus another disease, apparently. So, then you've got the news media saying on Cosmopolitan, someone who is obese as the headliner on the magazine, and it says, this is healthy. I have no problem with people treating people with respect. But the idea of saying that, to have obesity, which is caused by government subsidized vegetable oils and sugar and processed flours, the idea and that's also linked to comorbidities that are causing lethal outcomes with this COVID thing. I think that's totally preposterous, because you look at the Science magazine, another establishment PR firm, and it says why COVID-19 is more deadly in people with obesity, even if they're young. So one fake news outlet, Cosmopolitan, is telling you embrace massive obesity. So eat lots of vegetable oils. That's why the rats have diabetes in New York City, is because they're going into the trash dump and they're licking all that canola oil that was used to cook your food. And they're eating the processed flours and the donuts and all this stuff. But primarily it's this vegetable oil, which is the missing link to the rise of all these comorbidities. I used to think it was primarily just sugar and flour. But it was always weird to me, because when you look back in the 1800s, people ate sugar and they had flour. They would have a biscuit and they weren't obese. So what's going on? It's not like everybody in America today is just eating 20 biscuits, but they ate only one. Maybe there's that. But even people who had a healthy portion didn't seem to have the level of obesity. There's other factors like walking and things like that. But one of the primary things that was not present in the 1800s of America that is present today in massive quantities is linoleic acid, is vegetable oils. And that is used in all kinds of things. People say, oh, I stay away from vegetable oils. I don't buy the vegetable oil. But every time you eat processed soups, you buy a canned soup, you buy a cracker, it's got vegetable oils. You buy this thing, it's got vegetable oils. It's got vegetable oils everywhere, because it's a cheap industrial product that makes a good addictive filler. But it's not meant to be eaten in the amount of consumption amounts that we're eating it in today. So you look at this and you're like, Science magazine says why COVID-19 is more deadly with people with obesity. And then the next one, Cosmopolitan, says being obese, this is healthy. What is going on here? What are these PR firms trying to communicate to us? Why are we giving them any credence? I'm pointing them out just to show you as case studies what's so wrong about this groupthink that's possessing the minds of people who are reporting so-called information. It's not information. This is false information. It's pseudoscience. It's quackery. It's nonsense. It's bigotry. And it reminds me of a meme, that I've shared that says, if the news is fake, imagine how bad history is. And that makes a point that I have made many times on this program, which is that if you want to understand why the news does the things that they do, why do they side for big business? Why do they side for big government? Why are they always on the side of those things, right? Why are they always on the side of those who profit from violence and war? Why? Why is that the case? Then you have to understand where the news came from. They are the media. They are the priestly caste, the scribal caste. They write the myths, the storytelling, the legends, the rituals, the processes of ancient society. That's where that evolves from in history. And so this idea that the meme is communicating is very, very true. If the fake news is this fake, imagine how bad history is, because history is often written by people who transcribe a particular faith in a way of treating one another, in a way of keeping the powerful entrenched and making sure that the stories of wars and so are written in a way that makes them look like the good guys and makes the ones they vanquished look like losers or villains. History is written by the victors. But what Jesus is doing is he's breaking that historical trajectory up, because he's saying, no, wait a second. What about the least of these? What about Abel, who was murdered by Cain, and then Cain founded the first city? So in that story alone, we see an indictment on history's record. From the very moment the first city is established, according to the text, it is established on the death of one killing another, and then somehow justifying it as if he was right to do so. But what makes the biblical text unique is that it stays the camera angle stays at the death of Abel. It does not stay and say, well, Cain was a good guy and Abel was a monster. Abel was a goblin. It doesn't do that. That's what every other piece of mythology does. That's why history is in this struggle right now between the way Jesus makes sense of reality, which lifts up the poor, which lifts up the vulnerable, which lifts up those who have been oppressed and those who've been lied about, those who've been persecuted. But at the same time, it does not demonize the oppressor. It says that the oppressor has every opportunity to have redemption as well. Now imagine that. That's what we call a total disruption in the way history is actually written. And that's why the news media is just doing the function of ancient priestly caste. They're trying to write the history. They're trying to write our reality and our current events, which is a kind of micro history. They're trying to write it in a way that uplifts the victors or the wannabe victors who want to exploit the vulnerable and the poor in the name of helping the vulnerable and the poor. How sad is that? The corporate media are PR firms for backward corporations and bureaucracies that profit off of holding us back, harming our health, and sowing discord. They brand themselves as news, as a marketing gimmick. That's the reality. That doesn't mean that people in there are all, PR gimmicks, but that they function as a public relations agency for corporations and bureaucracies that have backwards ideas, and they make a killing off of holding us back with technology, holding us back with informational paradigms, holding us back with scientific understanding, holding us back with what's good for our bodies and our health, and holding us back by sowing discord, by creating division in every way possible. But again, as I've said before, that is not some kind of alien other, the media. It is a reflection of what our society is struggling with. We are in a struggle for our soul. We're in a struggle for who we are as a people. We want to know what's true. We want to know where we're going in history. And we think we're too arrogant to look back to a story like Jesus' to go, oh, no, we tried that. And I have to go on to enlightenment, like the idea of wearing a mask while I cut grass when no one's around me. That's enlightenment. Yeah, okay. That's what we're dealing with here, folks. We're dealing with Luddites masquerading as scientific gurus. We're dealing with people who don't even want to tell you the truth, that you should stop eating vegetable oils and processed flour and processed sugar if you're concerned with acute illnesses and viruses or chronic illness. But that's where we are. We have to wrestle against this ignorance and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Back in just a moment.
There is all kinds of lunacy going on. The madness of 2020.
Weekdays 11 to 2.
I'm just so fed up with these Democrats. It's unbelievable.
Get it straight from Chris Plant.
They're so hypocritical. It makes me sick.
It's the Chris Plant Show.
This has just got me going on.
And the left is waging war against the police in the United States.
Telling it like it is.
You should be thanked profusely for getting to the point. You're a voice of reason and the sea of idiots.
The Chris Plant Show. Weekdays 11 to 2. News Talk 1040 WHPO.
President-elect Joe Biden's about to speak in Atlanta at a rally for the Democratic candidates in tomorrow's Georgia Senate runoff elections. Those races will determine the majority in the U.S. Senate. President Trump will hold a rally tonight for Republicans in Dalton, Georgia. Hours earlier, Gabriel Sterling, the Republican in charge of Georgia's voting systems, debunked the president's claims of fraud that he made in his bid to reverse the result in Georgia.
This is all easily provably false. Yet the president persists.
Several hundred National Guardsmen will be on the streets of Washington, D.C. Wednesday to help with crowd control. Supporters of the president are expected to protest as the electoral votes confirming Joe Biden's win are counted. The governors of California, New York, and Florida are all today calling for faster administration of coronavirus vaccines in their states. The CDC says 4.5 million doses have been administered nationwide. Britain is entering another coronavirus lockdown until mid-February. Brian Clark, ABC News.
A Neighbor's Choice is back. I'm David Gornoski, your host. Looking at comments online where you can watch our video stream, go to aneighborschoice.com or go to YouTube or Facebook and watch the live stream. Keith online says, great show, brother. Magic Marker says, I think the government gives $40,000 for COVID and zero for anything else. Medicare is paying a 20% add-on to its regular hospital payments for the treatment of COVID-19 victims. That's a result of a federal stimulus law. So, yeah, I mean, there's all this stuff going on, right? But people who want to feel self-righteous, people who want to boss other people around, they love the excuse to bully people. They love the idea. There's no basis in science. It's just if enough people do it, it's okay to bully people. So you can be asymptomatic. And there's zero science that says there is a spread of asymptomatic people, that people asymptomatic can spread this virus. But people will go up to you and attack you if you're standing at a restaurant next to your table without a mask. Without a mask, they say you have to be seated. You don't have to have food, just be seated, and then the mask can be off, as if the virus can get you if you are standing up, 3 feet more or 4 feet more than you were before to when you're on the table. It's stupid. This is nonsense. This is bullying. We're allowing people to bully other people and to cheapen and degrade the sense-making of our society such that we have no ability to actually ascertain the truth and equip ourselves with the information that can actually prevent lethal cases of this virus. And the gobbledygook fools that the television tells you to listen to about this virus, like Dr. Fauci, they say nothing about the science of what's going on with vegetable oils in your body. They say nothing about the science of inflammatory amounts of carbs and sugar. And they tell you nothing about the science of what you can do to keep your body healthy, your immune system strong, and exposure to vitamin D3 through the sun and so forth. They tell you nothing about it because they have nothing to offer. What gives them grandeur is their position in a religious entity that we call the state. That somehow, if you are in a position of bureaucratic might within this entity, somehow you are above the crowd. You're above the common profane world. But it's nothing but an illusion. It's nothing but a religious fiction. And a bunch of arrogant people who think they're not religious are the most religious of enforcing this sacrificial, violent cult that the state has manifested itself to be. We've always known it to be, though, if you have studied the scripture. The Bible talks about this. The Bible talks about what principalities and powers are all about. You may not hear it at your Sunday service church, but it's the truth. It's the truth that the Bible talks about what principalities and powers are all about. The Bible talks about how we should be concerned with principalities and powers. You know, when we see Peter, talking to Jerusalem, he's talking to Jerusalem and he's saying that this is a change in history, that what he saw with Jesus changes history. It changes everything about how history will continue. It changes how we are going to relate to one another. It changes how we're going to get along with one another. It changes how we're going to organize together to solve problems. This is not about rugged individualism. This is about letting go of false collectivism, which is the lie of the crowd. This is about moving on and away from barbaric treatment of neighbors. That if you're standing above your table outside in a restaurant without a mask, you can give the virus. But if you sit down and take the mask off, you can't give the virus. This is stupidity. This is stupidity. This is conditioning people to be caught up in a mental blindness that will allow them to abuse people and bully people with self-righteous glee that somebody on television who works for NBC giant billion-dollar corporation told him it's okay to do this, therefore I am smart and I have a right to do that. But they know it's wrong because it's stupid. Anybody who's a child can see if you're standing in front of the table without a mask, or if you're sitting at and you're outside even, so you got that even, just to make it for the people who are really scared. You're sitting outside, you're standing next to your table talking without a mask, you sit at the table, there's a few feet difference. And the virus somehow can get people if you're standing without a mask, but if you're sitting without a mask, it cannot get you. Stupid. And people believe this, and they tell you that they are atheists and they don't believe in God, and I don't believe in the sacred. You believe in the sacred. You're so primitive, you can't see how the sacred owns you. It owns every aspect of you. It owns your thought process. You are literally acting like barbaric sacrificial cultists because you believe that it's okay and expedient to sacrifice some for the greater good. That's the foundation of the religions of the past. All religions were uniquely, had different unique attributes, but what bound them together, what made them the same across the board around the world was that they had some form of sacrificial logic at the heart of their practice, which is that we have the right to sacrifice some for the greater good. And that's how we maintain stress. That's how we relieve stress. That's how we relieve tension within a community, is by sacrificing some or one for the greater good. That's the heart of religion. It's not the belief in God. These fools that tell, oh, I'm not religious. I read a book from Dawkins. Oh, okay. So stupid. It's like you don't even know what religion is when you hear people say that. They don't even know what religion is. The word religion in the Latin, I say over and over again, means to bind together. What binds us together, right? And what binds people together is a sense of belonging in which they can sacrifice somebody else. Doesn't mean physically murdering them. That happens. Go look at war. Go look at the things we do. Go look at mob behavior. Go look at abortion, right? But it also means sacrifice in a slower sense, socially sacrificing someone, ostracizing them, crippling their ability to have a business and saying, oh, there's no problem because I work for a New York ad agency, so therefore I can work on Zoom. So the person who owns the restaurant, he's just primitive. He deserves to have this business destroyed. That's a sick, religious, bigoted way of thinking. And yet that is a position that we have seen smoked out into the open by this past year. Tina online says, any thoughts on the use of amen and a woman as heard in the closing of the prayer on the floor of the House Sunday by Representative Emmanuel Cleaver? I mean, that's exactly, I posted online, we were promised flying cars and all we got was a woman. we thought we could go somewhere. We used to believe that we could achieve anything. We could have flying cars. We could cure these diseases. We could cure pollution. We could plant, islands in the sea, underwater cities. And now we're stuck with a reality in which it's considered progress to say amen and a woman. It's pathetic. But it gives you an example of how the sacred is holding us back, because this religion of political correctness is a religion. It is not like a religion. It is a religion. And it is a religion that gets us devoted to worshiping the state. And as long as we're devoted to worshiping the state, we will turn towards violence and sacrificial laws as opposed to innovation and skin in the game. And that's what's holding us back. So saying a woman and amen because you're afraid that you're going to hurt people, if you only say amen, which means so be it or let it be, right? Or something, that somehow, that's what we do to make progress. And that's why we have reactionary bigotry masquerading as progress. We have Kamala Harris. Oh, it's progress that she's a person of color. But meanwhile, she's going to go along with bombing persons of color and every human being, because every human being's life is sacred. She's going to go along with bombing them. She's going to go along with keeping them locked up. She's going to go along with taxing and subsidizing and crippling people of color's businesses and ability to get a job and ability to maintain a business and to pay their employees, because she's going to be going along with empire, which is a parasitical way of exploiting the poor. But they try to come up with rhetoric to make it look like they're doing it to help the poor. They're doing it to help the little person. But it'll all be exposed. It will continue to be exposed because, as we can see here, people are waking up. They're waking up to the fact that the media, which is the essential priestly caste that keeps this whole worship of the state going, it can't do its job as well anymore. People have perspectives that allow them to see through it. Social media allows people to see different perspectives and say, hey, wait a second. This newspaper, just look at that example I posted about. I mentioned earlier about the girl saying, why is my father's name in the newspaper and why is his name in the paper for dying of COVID? He died of complications due to pancreatic cancer. Sandy Bianco posted. She's on a social media page posting. She is replying to the fake news of the newspaper. If you lived in a time in which we didn't have decentralized media like social media, even though they're trying to centralize it, right? They realize they made a mistake and they're trying to centralize it. But if we didn't have a digital world, then the only voice would be the newspaper. And if it said this guy died because of COVID, you didn't have a social media reply from the daughter that would be able to get more people than the newspaper. And so that's why the priestly caste of the news media is falling apart, because people can get in there and reply. They can show, hey, look, I've got a camera angle that shows your thing is a lie. Like this whole thing with the Georgia thing. I don't even care about it, but they're trying to say, oh, we got Trump saying he's going to find votes. And I haven't listened to it, but I know I've seen enough of the evidence about Georgia to say there's a lot of suspicious stuff there on a lot of different levels, right? That you look at what Patrick Byrne is posting about with ballots being found in a warehouse and all this stuff, and a truck comes and picks it up, and then he finds, ballots that were shredded, and he finds a shipping order from China. I don't know the veracity of this stuff, but it's not just him; it's everybody else that you see out there saying there's enough suspicion here to be able to warrant a full audit. And so what they do, the news media, they're always for the establishment. So they take that and they say, okay, let's get a phone call and let's spin it really hard to make it look like that Trump is the only villain here, that was a perfectly clean election. There's nothing to see here. And we're going to go ahead and spin this narrative to the low information Luddites that believe everything we print. And we're going to tell them nothing to see here, just boogeyman Trump trying to get you, just trying to get you. Just trying to get you. Don't worry, Uncle Joe, who locked everybody up, he's going to help you. Just Uncle Joe, he's going to give you NAFTA, the same garbage crap they've been giving you before. He'll take care of you because he's our designated little puppet. And Trump, for whatever reason, went off 1% off the narrative, and they want to destroy him to make an example out of anybody who thinks outside the box of their stale, tired, old narrative of political correctness, selling us wars and corporatism. It's the package deal. It's not the policies that they're worried about. They're worried about policy. But what they're more worried about is the narrative. And Donald Trump didn't fit their narrative. He didn't speak their narrative. He didn't keep their myth going. And that myth is essential. The myth that the state is there for the little person, that the state is there for taking care of victims and being our nanny and being very soothing in its rhetoric. He didn't play that role right. And that's why he's anathema to them, because they need people in that position who will soothe people like babies. And that's what Joe Biden does. He reads from his, he squints at a teleprompter and says, I will bring you together. And then low information, baby-like adults say, oh, he said he'll bring us together. That means he's safe. That's the extent of their processing. I'm not saying they're not smart. They probably could be rocket scientists if they want, but they choose to be so foolish and ignorant, willfully so, that the extent of their discernment is Joe Biden said he will bring us together, therefore he's safe. Joe Biden doesn't say he's smart. Trump said he was smart, therefore Biden is not a narcissist. It's like, are you kidding me? These people would believe a children's cartoon if that's what they were told the state told them to listen to. I mean, the state could literally tell them, watch Looney Tunes to learn how to conduct your life, and enough people would actually do it. Because they just, whatever the sacred state cult says, they bow and they worship in adoration. Because human beings need something to worship. They need something to be in awe of, and they will never not be religious. So don't let any ignorant person tell you they're not religious. They are very much so religious. Every human being is religious. The question is, what are you in awe of? We'll be back in just a moment. David Gornoski here. Let me tell you about a man named Gabriel. Every day, Gabriel puts on his boots and drives across America to make sure our store shelves stay stocked with the food people count on. See, Gabriel served our country overseas. He knows that America stands for freedom, quality, and caring for others the way we would like to be treated. That's why when Gabriel saw food shelves getting low during the pandemic, he hit the road as a driver with Oakley Transport. In the land of the free, where no one should go hungry, we need heroes like Gabriel to help keep America fed. CDLA driving professionals. Join Oakley Transport today. Keep America fed. Visit oakleytransport.com or call them today at 1-877-8-TANKER. That's 1-877-8-TANKER. Hello, this is David Gornoski with A Neighbor's Choice. I've got a mission for you. I'm a big believer in eating family farm-raised, high-quality, grass-fed beef. That's why I'm a frequent customer of White Oak Pasture, a sixth-generation beautiful farm in southwest Georgia. Support sustainable, delicious meat of the highest quality. Ask for White Oak Pasture's beef at your local grocery here in Florida, or go to whiteoakpastures.com, and first-time customers get 20% off on purchases with our exclusive coupon code NEIGHBOR.
Are you ready to transform your career? Jess Smith was too. She was stuck in a job that was controlling her life, consuming her free time, and offering little opportunity for growing her pay. Then she found FinTech Mortgage Association, and she never looked back. FinTech Mortgage Association makes home lending simple, and they take care of home buyers like family. Using technology to make everyone's life easier, FinTech Mortgage Association equips each of their loan solutions architects with the tools they need to build a career with a schedule they control, a product they can take pride in, and an earning potential that is life-changing. Unleash your true potential. Join FinTech Mortgage Association. Visit finmay.com. That's FINMAE.com. You're in charge now. NMLS ID 1492187. Equal housing lender.
New design, new approach, new content. NewsTalkFlorida.com. Covering cities all across Florida. Relevant information, news, business, entertainment that will not waste your time. From your laptop or your mobile device, you have easy access. Get a quick daily fix of articles, video, and audio that is relevant to your routine. Plus streaming audio from great radio stations in Florida like the Big 8 in Tampa. NewsTalkFlorida.com. All in one place, NewsTalkFlorida.com. Today's news and entertainment with a Florida slant.
A Neighbor's Choice returns. I'm David Gornoski, your host. You can email me hello@aneighborschoice.com talking about what's next. Nicholas Online on YouTube says they go towards status like moths to flames. Big Vision says, why does the media never bring up Curtis Dunn when talking about Biden's morality? Not familiar with that name. But that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with so much misinformation, so much weaponized ignorance by the press, but it's all falling apart. So we're in this really exciting time because millions of people are waking up to the reality of how these institutions act like the priests of old did, which is to hide the violence of the rituals that the people in power feel the need to conduct in order to maintain order and their power and their hierarchy and peace. But Jesus broke that. He opened that whole thing up. And, here's what I'll leave you with, okay, for this segment. When you go to church, most churches, you don't really hear what I believe is the obvious reality of what happened on the cross, okay? And they're told that the cross is all about you were a bad person and you got to be a good person, but you can't do it. So therefore Jesus died because his father needed to hate somebody and he wanted to hate you because you were a bad person. So therefore he took his anger out on his son. And I mean, when I look at the Bible, here's what I hear. Here's what I hear Peter actually, the guy who Jesus said, you're going to be my rock, right? Here's what he actually says about what happens on the cross. Okay, he quotes from the Old Testament. He quotes from David. Okay, he quotes from Psalm. He says, why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Right? And he says, indeed, Herod and Pontius Pilate met together with the Gentiles and the people of Israel in the city to conspire against your holy servant Jesus, whom you anointed. They did what your power and will had decided beforehand should happen. So what I want you to think about is whatever occurred on the cross, if you listen to this sermon that Peter's giving to the people, why is he excited about Jesus? He doesn't say, well, yeah, it turns out I was a bad person and I was going to be sent to hell forever. And therefore, all I had to do was Jesus came and he said, hey, you're sinning a lot, you're cussing a lot, you're a bad person, you're mean, you cut people off in traffic, and therefore God's angry at you, and all you have to do is I'm gonna step into your place, and he's gonna take all his anger out on me, and then all you got to do is believe that happened, and then he'll love you too. Huh? He doesn't say that. He says he's talking about nations raging and kings of earth rising up and banding together against God and his anointed one, which is a reference to Jesus. So obviously something on the cross has something to do with politics. When Peter is given the microphone in history, the guy who Jesus was kind of his, go-to guy, to be the rock, right? You're going to be the guy that moves this ball forward. And when he's given the microphone, what does he say about why he's excited about Jesus? He says it has something to do with all the kings of the earth joining forces together. Obviously, not all the kings of the earth were literally present when they killed Jesus. But that something that happened when Jesus was killed was the kings of the earth all over the world symbolically going up against something else which would defeat them. So that the death of Jesus on the cross is first and foremost a political change. It is something that's happening to the way kings and governments, and it's not just, monarchs. No, it's not just what China does or what the communists do or what, fascists in the history do. It's all kings of the earth. So something on the cross has something to do with how kings of the earth, principalities and powers of the world, how they govern the world was being challenged on the cross. If you don't see it, I don't know how else to help you. If you want to make the cross all about you, then go ahead. That's what Americans have been doing all the time. That's what people before America have been doing. They all make it about themselves. But when I look at here, I see a story that's about politics. That's about the kings of the earth rising up. I don't hear a story about, oh, this is about me and some kind of guilt conscience. That is a real thing. The righteousness and living good is a good thing. But what I'm saying is, what you see on the cross from Peter's own mouth is that the kings of the earth were rising up and the rulers were joining together against Jesus on the cross, which means whatever he accomplished was something that would change politics forever. That is why your politics today looks and imitates the way that Jesus saves people. He saves people by taking care of the least of these, by taking care of the vulnerable, by taking care of the victims, by exposing the violence that's been done to victims. That's something that is being revealed in the story of Jesus' death on the cross. It is a political event. It is a political transformation that history is enthralled in right now. So what happens next? What happens next is resurrection. What happens now is that we continue to see a new creation, a new order emerge. And it's based on the human agency of you and me and everyone else about how this looks and how this plays out. But it's set on a trajectory, but how we manifest that trajectory is up to our free agency. So when you look at the headlines and you see all this, what you're seeing is something to do with what Peter said, the kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against Jesus. That's what had something to, that gives us a glimpse into something about what happened in history with the death of Jesus. And where we go next in history is totally within that sandbox, within the sandbox of how Jesus's project for humanity is destroying the powerful and their ability to control thought and to control media myth making and to control their use and abuse of people. Jesus is here for the underdog, but he's here to heal those who are the so-called oppressors as well. That's why it's a dizzying reality. We want to make somebody the good guy and someone the bad guy, but that's not what we're going to get in this new world order that Jesus has started in history. He's scrambling up the narratives. He's offering forgiveness. He's offering mercy. And it's not about you to say a prayer and that's it. It's for you to literally put your skin in the game and take up your cross and follow the way of transforming the world that is already in the process of happening. It's already happening. So that's what we see. That's why everybody's trying to act like a martyr to have political power. That's why everybody dresses up to look like a victim, to victimize people, because they are playing within the same reality 2,000 years after Peter was saying that what happened at the cross was that the kings of the earth rose up and the rulers of the world but were united together against Jesus. But Jesus destroyed their power. And that's why it's all scrambling up right now. That's why everything's so topsy-turvy, because you're in the midst of a huge transformation that takes place across history. I'm David Gornoski. Godspeed.